Welcome into the Charlotte FC podcast. Today on the show, I have probably one of the most passionate people I've ever met in the field of sports, and it's the director, Tom Huet, who has worked so many live productions across almost 40 years. And he is an MLS Season Pass director, and he's pretty much done it all, and he has great stories, and I could talk to him all day. But some of the things you're going to hear us talk about is from his time to starting out and building actual trucks and how it transmits and building those things to produce and transmit those games. Talking about his work at Atlanta United when they first started out, and just soccer in general as a unifying sport. How he works with his crews, how the multiple feeds work in Apple, how he works with the announcers and the producer and meets with the coaches and, watches the game and watches it from a perspective of watching people and how people react to games. He understands the game. He looks at player positions. He creates movement charts for his camera people. He does crowd walks. I mean, all of these things. And for the most part, at the end, he's really helping shape and put on a story that the viewer and the watcher of MLS Season Pass and any events that he does walks away with that feeling of understanding and just is entertained. So enjoy Tom. It's time for the Charlotte FC podcast.
Block, Duzbak's going to get it back. Westwood, rather Vargas, the touch, the finish!
Gone!
The Alba, whipped in, good ball!
Oh!
Christian Kalina, a save to save the season!
Crowd belongs to Charlotte! And Charlotte FC, if the results hold, have clinched its first playoff berth in club history!
So welcome to the Charlotte FC podcast. It's Nick Finelli, your host. Today, I have the privilege and honor to work, or at least talk to, this Emmy Award-winning producer and director. Tom has had a great career and continues to add to his credentials. Tom, before I say so much about you, because I could probably talk for another 30 minutes about all the stuff you did, I want you to tell it. So can you give us an introduction of yourself and how you introduce yourself to other people?
I guess I introduce myself to other people and that I'm the oldest guy in the room, which means that, and I have 3 kids, so I've lost my hair. And, I used to love to, try to surf and, had long hair and do all that kind of, but no, I originally wanted to be a on-air talent. And one person took me, a radio announcer, and said, "Look in the mirror." And I said, "Okay." And he goes, not in front of the camera, you're not going to be. I said, "I get the point." Anyways, I was lucky to start at Total Communication Systems in New Kensington, Pennsylvania, which is also the one of the initial networks. And I was privileged to work with some very, very good people who, went to other places, and I got moved up the food chain very, very rapidly. I mean, I became a producer in a year, and and ended up being a vice president, executive producer, and I was able to do both sides of the business because I was the first one to put college football up on a satellite. Bought a transponder. Couldn't pay the bills for the transponder, so my boss ended up selling it to Warner Communications, which became the distribution points for Nickelodeon and MTV. Was involved in all that. They won a lottery, won an extra transponder. We sold it for $2.8 million on a letter, and which the napkins that was sold on at the Friars Club in New York is still in the records at Warner as a legal document. And I was able to build a massive TV truck from that, one of the best in the business, and was the first to put Ikegami 357s out in the field, first to put computer editing into trucks to do it. I was fortunate that I was allowed to do a lot of this stuff. We bought TCS Metro Sports, became the largest syndicator in the United States, had the rights to the Big East, the Big Ten, Pac-8, Pac-10, whatever you want to call it, the Eastern Independence. We had them all, Notre Dame. We were doing Penn State football, which was the base that started it. Plus, we represented athletes. So I've had to deal with people like Tony Dorsett and Jimmy Cephalo and the Barr brothers and Franco Harris and people like that through the years. Johnny Majors, Jackie Sherrill, Coach Paterno, obviously a very close associate. We created a relationship with NEP, which then it was the TV station, which was sold, I believe, Wall Street Journal, whatever it was. It made a good bit of money for all the employees, which was great. But Tom Shelburne wanted Penn State football. We had a mutual understanding. He built me a little truck for it, for editing the post-game shows that we did, plus the replays we did that we put on satellite, all that kind of stuff. We did Notre Dame football then too. But we were, as some entrepreneurs are, ahead of the game. And when you go to a bank and say, I need $2-3 million to help me, cover our rights fees for the Big Ten, Big East, whatever, they thought they didn't understand what it was. Right. So basically what happened is we went into Chapter 11, which is now like the same thing Valley's doing right now, which I explained to everybody that it's not bankruptcy, guys. It's a good way to start a new business. NEP emerged from it. I stayed there for a couple of years and helped run it. Through the acknowledgement of the bank, and it is now about a $4.5 billion company, and also playing a very, very large from the Apple MLS world. And they're a company. Their folks are very talented in what they do. They still have a field shop that's 10 minutes from my house, which I helped build and find and put together. And I left there after building like 8 trucks, 6 uplinks, a whole bunch of different things, plus being executive producer of a large syndication, company in the country. And so it gives me a unique perspective on. Yeah.
I mean, you've
been transmission and the production part of this business. And I hope that I'm valuable to some people. Maybe I don't spread my wings as much as I should.
Well, I mean, it just sounds like you're at the innovation front of almost all of these things that have happened in sports. And yet here you are again with Apple TV and this MLS Plus, which is, again, another thing that has kind of changed or is going to be changing the way people view and do things with sports. So how did you get on with them? Like, how did that happen?
Well, I think the biggest couple of suggestions I can always give to people coming up in the business. Be a voracious reader. I read everything. I read probably 3, 4, 5 different newspapers a day. I read all the trades. I try to take time for it. I return every email that's sent to me and every text at the end of the day, just, even if it takes to the end of the day. And, my first boss gave me one, bit of advice, and then I'll move into the Apple part. The very first day on work, we had to leave to go to Penn State and have a meeting with Coach Paterno. And we got in the car. It's a 2.5-hour drive from here. Get in the car. I'm sitting in the car, and he goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm riding up to Penn State to talk to Coach Paterno." He's like, "Where's your legal pad? Where's your piece of, your pencil and your paper?" I said, "Don't." He says, "Let me tell you one thing. Best advice I'll ever give you. You're going to forget 90% of what you're told. Write it down. You're going to forget the rest. Idea comes to you. To this day, I carry 2 pencils or 2 pens in my pocket, which my wife kind of hates because sometimes they bleed into your pants or shirt, and a piece of paper. Because when you hear something or think of something, write it down, because you're going to forget it, even if you're old, even if you're young." But I got involved. I was fortunate. I've been around the league for 28 years now to be, or 29, whatever it is. One of the first games we ever did in Columbus, Ohio, with the Tampa Bay Rowdies and the Columbus Crew. Stayed close to the league as much as I could when I could, because I was doing college football, I was doing Olympics, I was doing the NBA. Started traveling with them. Actually started with TNT for 7, 8 years. I was doing their top games on Thursday nights and whatever, Tuesdays, and playoffs, the whole bit. And then I went over to the Memphis Grizzlies because I had a connection to Memphis, because I always had the rights to the Memphis Tigers, and been there now. It's my 23rd year with them. But Randy Stevens, who was my boss and is now, I think you'll hear his name being mentioned. He used to be the executive producer at Southeast, and he's now been based in Cleveland as a senior vice president of Valleys. He's going to be around a while, but he had called me and originally hired me to do the Grizzlies, and he's one of the best producers I've ever sat beside. And I sit in both seats, so I kind of have a really good perspective of that. But he after one game, we went out afterwards in Memphis, and he said, "Hey, what do you think about soccer?" He says, "I know your background, and would you be interested in coming over and really guiding our television efforts with Atlanta United? That we should have a deal out with them in the next week or so." And he said, "I think we can manipulate your schedule so you can be around and be involved in meetings and organizing and hiring the announcers and, getting a lot of that put together and helping us become." I mean, Arthur Blanks, and his general manager laid down the law. Basically said, we want to be the best, the biggest, and we want to really show the world that a southern city can be a capital for soccer and fill our stadium and whatnot. And obviously the proofs in the pudding. We did it.
Yeah.
And I'm very proud. I get a little chill when I know that Jillian Sakowitz hosts our postgame show. Kevin Egan has now taken over 360 completely. I mean, he's amazing in what he did. Mo Adu he's our number 2 guy right now, I believe. I don't know what the rankings are, but I just know I show up and there they are.
Right.
But Mo is very good, and I have got a chance to work with him. Dan Gargan is doing some games for us too. He was one of our original guys. Heck, we had brought over the head Arthur, Mr. Blank wanted us to bring over the John, what the heck? I forget his name. He was the radio voice of the EPL.
Okay.
He came over originally and started us, and that got us a good start. He taught us about more than what we knew, because we always look at things from an American perspective instead of looking at it a worldwide or people who do this for a living perspective, because it's new to us. But now we, find MLS, charging up the ranks, and goodbye hockey, and NBA, you're next on the list, and we're coming for you, and NFL's right there. NFL's pretty untouchable, but hey, we're a player now. We're a player.
Yeah.
So anyways, I stayed with it, and we did it for 6 years. We won a championship. We were doing our games both home and away. We worked through COVID, everything. We were still doing, big productions, big shows. I mean, my show act, to be honest with you, I have less cameras now than I did at Atlanta.
Wow.
Our show in Atlanta was big, and hopefully we did a good job with it. And I think that it also was a moniker of help for the city of Atlanta to get World Cup games now, to get CONMEBOL games, get World Cup games. I think we've, legwork to make that happen and make people understand that, man, it's an exciting game. From the supporters to, the whole, thing, and Garth Lagerwey, the general manager now, is still taking it on to the next step. It's going to continue to grow in Atlanta. But, with that being said, I think I was in Atlanta 3 times out of 25 matches last year. So I don't get to see the home gang and the home crew that much, though. A lot of them got hired to work on the championship game, which is kind of nice.
Yeah.
But yeah. So Apple then came along and
kind of dispelled a lot of that stuff.
Well, I was fortunate. They asked me, there was just with the World Cup and everything, there wasn't anybody. They needed a warm body to produce MLS Draft, which is, oh boy, taking that on by yourself is not easy. It's a lot.
Yeah.
But I got to, I interviewed, probably 60 of the candidates. So I know some of these players come now. I got to, sit down and do long-term, interview. We entered features. We had 4 or 5 features. We did blah, blah, blah. Anyways, I established myself not only there with the draft, but I also was very helpful in the process of getting VAR installed in our trucks and using it. Yeah. And I think that, there was maybe enough then to, become involved in this project. And, I'm fortunate. I like anything, you can put me on, I wouldn't want my bosses there, but, put me on the worst game of the week and I'll get excited about it and have a lot of fun with it. Nice. And, we'll find things to show people and teach a new group of people what soccer is all about.
Yeah, we just had the manager for pro referees VAR on our show talking about like how they go about doing that and use that. And they have the new headquarters now in Dallas, so that's going to help them out a lot too. But you guys are feeded directly in there, so that's nice, right?
Yeah, and I don't pat myself on the back or anything, but this will be my 37th year as an official.
Mm-hmm.
And in Pennsylvania, I feel that I'm probably one of the better officials we have. However, since I make what I call real money on weekends, I end up doing the state semifinal game, and then it's like, hey Tom, can you work the championship game? Nope, I'm doing college football, Ohio State and Wisconsin.
Right.
Oh, I said they pay a little more than like the $85 that we get.
Right.
Plus a little bit of mileage, but yeah, the soccer part of it's fine. And so I also at one point took one of the coaching licenses for FIFA.
Mm-hmm.
So I still hold that. It's a minor one, but it's at least I know a little bit about that end of the bill. And I started the program at our high school, and I was one of the originals and led up to the fact that when my son reached 9th grade and his group of kids that I had been coaching since they were little, I decided that not for me to coach them because I don't want to get into all the the other parent stuff that goes with it. And they were good. They were a really, really good bunch of kids that all went on to play. And I think the most excited part of it for me is that a lot of them are doctors and lawyers, and all keep in touch with each other to this day. And
nice.
I think soccer did that for them. And I think that's a thing you can find about soccer that a lot of people would like. The kids have, for them to do. And then on the other, conversely, my daughters were dancers, so they were competitive dancers, and now my granddaughter is, and they meet so many friends, and it's a good way.
It's definitely a community builder.
Keep the kids busy. They won't get in trouble if you keep them busy. So you need adults who want to help, want to get involved, and get hands on too a little bit. I mean, this is probably not the subject, but just the amount of clearances and stuff you have to have now. I have to have FBI clearances, fingerprint clearances, everything else just to officiate or coach.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It
deters some people too from getting into it.
I went down to help the kids one night on the behest of a parent who had no idea what he was doing. And before I even reached the field, 3 mothers had surrounded me and said, "Who are you? What are you? Get out of here." And it just so happened that the field they were playing on, I had actually helped plant the grass on it and clean it, make it a playable field. And I'm like, ladies, I don't want to get upset with you, but I got more clearances than you guys have.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's all.
So in your Apple role, because you are a director, correct? Not a producer for it?
I'm directing, yes.
And so just tell us a distinction, because I think a lot of people get that confused.
Directing based on the sport takes on different roles. I think you'll find that in soccer, the director on any sport is the last person other than the TD beside him who punches the actual button that decides what's going to go on the air.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the last gatekeeper.
Right.
If it's a shot that shouldn't be shown, I'm going to tell the producer, "Hey, nice try, but it's not getting on the air."
Right.
You protect your properties. The director really is responsible for everything a viewer sees on the air. Whatever camera angle you're seeing, the cadence of replays comes from producer, but I'm the one that gets them on the air. And I might also suggest to them that, hey, maybe that's a better angle to look at. Or one of the EVS operators, which are the people that do the replays, might say in my back ear, "Hey, I got a great reaction shot on this one that the producer hasn't seen," and I'll just go to it because I trust my crew. They're there to be part of it. We're one team. It's not a team. It's not. You cannot put a show on the air by yourself. I mean, it is a whole group of people that can be 35, 40, 50 people on any given game. 1 or 2 could have a bad game, but you really don't want that. You want everybody to be in sync.
Mm-hmm.
Understand the game that they're covering. I just sent a note to my boss about, I want people to not just come and aim and shoot. I want them to understand and know the game. I want them to actual gamble. If they think they got something that's not on the air camera, go get it. Because you know what? If I don't get to it, or if I don't, if we don't replay it, and so what? Nobody knew it happened. You don't know it. You didn't know that he missed. He tried to get this guy, Messi coming up the field super tight with just his waist and feet, and see how fast he moves the ball on his feet. But he missed it. The ball went some other direction. You don't know that, but you know what? If he gets it, I replay it.
Right.
The producer's going, "Whoa, that was awesome!" Or the Italians saying, "Hey, I need this shot over the top," or "I need this." I mean, we have several analysts that are just remarkable to work with. I mean, from Taylor, to Mo, to on down the line, Brian Dunny, to and I would be really remiss, and this is a big thing that I keep fighting with, not fighting with, keep encouraging.
Mm-hmm.
Our Spanish announcers may be better than some of our English announcers. Right. So a lot of times I will turn them on in the truck and listen to them, because the inflection of their voices and what Spanish I do know, because when you might not know the language. I can't speak it. I say buenos dias, whatever. But it's a universal sport. Mm-hmm. What they're saying and the inflections they're in and the names calling, you know what they're saying. You'd be a dummy if you didn't think you knew what they're saying, especially being around for a while. So it's a lot of fun. And that's the other thing. Our crews, we'll get to the Miamis, the Orlandos, the Houstons. We're starting to get these totally culturally diverse crews, which are so wonderful to work with. Trust me, it's amazing. I mean, from, the Spanish to the French to we got some Portuguese mixed in. And I even call, our bosses are English. So that's another language to me too, sometimes,
Right.
So, I mean, it's just, soccer is amazing. I don't get this in basketball or college football or, whatever. Soccer is such a world, sport. And I think the fact that Apple said, that's the sport we want. Let's go get it. Mm-hmm. And let's put some investment into it. And the technology side of it is, we're just starting to unleash what they can do. Of course, they don't tell us what it is either until they tell us, here, this is what
here, do this.
But our stats and analytics now they're off the chart. I've never seen anything this amazing in my life, especially for even announcers and stuff. It's just the stuff I have to work with during the week. There's so much data and information I can find. Even the littlest quirky things I can find it, and they have it. And it's amazing. It's quite I don't know. You always adapt as you get older, and this is one of those ones where. I've been telling people I've been through probably 4 or 5 iterations of television since I got involved. I mean, when we first started, it was just linear, and it was AT&T from one point to another point to a multiple group of stations. Then we got into, local cable. Then we got into cable regional networks. There was also some 3D passed in there at one point or twice. Actually, it doesn't work. It works, but it's not,
Right.
And then you've got, the distribution through the various regional networks. Then you have distribution that went to satellite for a long time. Now we push signals now literally through IP addresses. Yeah. The NBA and soon MLS will catch up to them. And this part has a complete in-house, what we call HSON, high-speed analogous. Now, it can push signals everywhere in every arena. I can have, literally 30 cameras in Memphis, and they're all going to go to Secaucus in time. And, they'll hook up the intercom, whatever, and I can cut the show in Secaucus then.
Wow.
The announcers can be at site. They could be in Secaucus. They could be somewhere else. MLS, I think we're getting there, but you can't. This undertaking, the people in the business understand it, but for what the guys did technically last year and that, if they don't win a couple Emmys for it next year, I'd be shocked, or they weren't entered correctly, because what we did and how they move signals and how we do multiple feeds at the same time from the same truck. I mean, we're sitting in there doing an English feed, a world feed, a Spanish feed, and sometimes also a French feed. Plus, well, just for luck, let's just mix in the home radio guys into this too.
Right.
Get them pushed out. And all that has to be distributed. You can't get to you at home without a way of distributing it. So all that had to be put together too. So you're involving all these different, transmission points, intersection points throughout the country. And for all that to come in, then let's throw in Metropolis in New York, the studio.
Yeah.
Pretty soon, like, holy heck, Oh, now the studio is going to put out, English 360, Spanish 360, pre-game show, post-game show, all that stuff. And hey, they created a whole network in literally overnight, 2 months. This year's going to get better and better. Hey, we're getting closer, but we're not there yet. We'll get even better.
So what are some changes that we'll see this year noticeably from your perspective?
I think you'll see some of these changes you don't see probably at home, but I think from what they've told us that we're going to be more familial, as I call it. I'll probably be with my crew a good bit. Once I get out of NBA, I mean, the first 10 weeks, I'm kind of missing like 5 matches. My crew will be pretty much together. My producer, Sean Lorette, will be with me most of the time. I think we're going to get the same announcers most of the time, but I'm not sure of that because I think they're going to move us around a little bit more.
Is it really helpful that you have the same announcers because then they kind of get to know how you do things?
Yeah, it simplifies your prep, your game day prep. Plus, I know, first of all, what do they want for monitors, what feeds they want in the booth, what's this, what camera angles are better suited to them and how they analyze the game, how they broadcast the game. I spent a lot of time with Steve Cangelosi last year and Danny Higginbotham. And Danny, to me, is probably one of the best analysts I've ever seen. I mean, he's obviously does the EPL and other leagues too, coming in for CBS and whatnot. But he breaks down a game and he just has a way of talking, to me and our crew about what we want to see and his excitement for the game and how he breaks it down into more of a chess game and whatnot. Taylor, I've been with Taylor a couple times too, and Jake and all that kind of stuff. I mean, their analysis of the game, and I wouldn't take anything from them, but when you get put Messi into your picture, sometimes the analysis has to become more of the spectacle, what you're seeing and what's happening in front of you and how people are reacting to it. So sometimes I think when you get into a game with, say, maybe Cincinnati, Philadelphia, 2 tactical coaches, your analyst can really shine in those games. And in the meetings we have during the week with those coaches who are telling you, okay, we're going to play a diamond on this side, and this side we're going to move this guy. He's going to shadow this guy, and we're going to move. My left back is going to come all the way up into the midfield. There's stuff that you can teach as an announcer, which then makes my job harder because I have to direct the game for them, but I got to direct the game for the world.
Right.
So he might be saying, "Give me a picture of Hany Mokhtar." I can't do that right now. The Spanish guys are not. They're talking about the damn goalie.
Right.
Yes, you got to pick and choose your battles and pick and choose your coverage so that it means the most to the people watching it. And you never want to get too big in your britches either. I like to go out, say, Las Vegas, local bars, different cities you're in. Just sit in the background, sports bar, get a burger or something, have a beer. But watch the people around you. What are they watching? What do they want to see? Hey, most of them have worked they're working a 40-hour week. That's their team. They want to see their team. Do they want to see all the tactical information? Maybe not so much. They want to see all these graphics? No, half of them can't see them, because they're in a bar. And they want to see their team. So camera one, 97% of the time is on the air with the scoreboard, and that's what they want to see. So it also makes you feel good that, hey, they're watching. Because a lot of people, you can't feel the people in the truck. You can feel the people in the stadium. You can't feel the people at home, though. So you don't know, hey, did they react to that in a good way or a bad way? Trust me, you make one bad. We had a wipe the other night. Totally just a mistake. We were in Madison Square Garden. We wiped to a replay, and it was a star wipe. And it got stuck because the fader bar was stuck.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, my God. Awful announcing. Television fail. I mean, it was up for 3 seconds.
Right.
It went all over the internet. I'm like, we did 5,000 things right that night. That one thing got caught, and boom, they got us everywhere.
Like, I mean, but that also tells people are watching.
Yeah, well, some people for the wrong reasons.
Right.
There's people out there saying, okay, I want Apple to fail. I want Apple to fail. guys, it's not going to fail. Understand not only the economics, but the numbers of the whole thing. When you get into streaming, you don't need thousands and millions of people. You need a good core audience, but that core can come from all over the world.
Yeah.
And I think I read, and I don't know if I'm still accurate on this, Apple controls, I think it's like 53% of the cell phone business in the United States, 23% in Asia, 7% in South America. You think that number changed when Messi came? Oh, you bet it did. Somebody said it was like 251,000 Messi jerseys sold on the first night. The pink and the black. At whatever number, darn well that number is probably somewhere above $100.
Right.
So, and they couldn't fulfill the orders. There was so many. So overall, it's amazing what soccer can do. And I've been fortunate. I've been able to do some of the, big international friendlies that have come to town, been in Europe, whatever. I sat there I think we were in like Athens or somewhere doing field hockey out of my control room that day. And we had India playing Pakistan. And everybody's like, who cares about that game? It had like 2 billion people watch it.
Right.
It's like,
big. Cricket's big.
You got to take those blinders off and say, how, we're not the only ones that, we in the U.S. are very strong-willed about what we think and what we don't think. But the people of the world, man, I mean, picking up an MLS game, some of the people I've talked to, like in Europe, which they'll get it at 2, 3 in the morning type thing.
Yeah.
Or in Asia, which gets it technically the day after, I think. There's a lot of viewers out there. And then when you go to think about South America, that's why I also always think about the importance of making sure my Spanish announcers, have what they need. Because their audience is huge. People in South America, they know every dang player on the other teams.
Right.
We saw that with Leagues Cup with Mexico. Hey, there was a lot of people watching, boy. There were a lot of Mexico, the whole bit. That was amazing success. I mean, I loved it. I had 2 games that went to the the shootouts and the quarters, and what did I have? The sixth round of 16 quarters. Those were exciting games.
Yeah, they were. It was a good
I had my
tournament.
guys doing there, man. I had Cincinnati on the one and Minnesota and I think Club America or whatever on the other. Or Guadalajara, I don't know what it was. I forget the names, but I'm not good on names. They always tell me, please, all announcers, it's a warning throughout the league. Do not let your director, Tom Huet, ever pronounce one of the players' names for you. Because I either butcher the name or I make up a nickname so I remember him to the camera guy. Hey, get that guy, get this guy, get that little guy.
Right,
get
12,
guy.
whatever. Like, I know his number.
Guy with a mustache, or you know what I mean? It's easier in the heat of battle for me to do that. And when I got a crew that understands that, so you'll get a couple of grumpy guys. I can't find them unless you give me a number. Well, they got a number on their pants. They got a number on their shirt. And if you haven't followed the league for a while, you should know what they look like.
Right. You got to do your prep, right? If you're covering these players, you need to know the list because you're going to be assigned to do something.
I started last week on my first game because I didn't get used. Oh, wait, I had Houston once last year. But I Kansas City about 3 times. So I kind of got a feel for both teams and how they play and, whatever. And but you got to do study. The meetings we have on usually Thursdays or Fridays with the coaches and some of the players are pretty valuable. And like I said, we have all the announcers on. So, we go both ways. We go English, Spanish, even French if we need to. And I don't think we have many French-speaking players, though. But I'm amazed, too. It's one of our success stories. Like Jillian, she challenged. We had Joseph Martinez, obviously, for 5 years. Joseph would never do an interview. And Jillian kept, come on, Joseph, come on, blah, blah, blah. He said, I'll make you a deal. I'll do an interview with you. You ask me the questions in Spanish. I'll try to answer them in English. By George, we did it. It was after he scored his 100th goal or whatever. It was an amazing interview. I mean, and Jillian was so tickled afterwards, and Joseph just hugged her, and he was so tickled because she took the time to understand how he felt because he was nervous about speaking English. He was nervous, So if she could speak Spanish, halfway decent,
right?
That made him comfortable and made for a good interview.
Yeah, no, I agree. So besides the meetings on Thursday, what are you doing before then? You know you have a match coming up. What are you doing to prep as a director?
As a director, first of all, I check the results from the last time. I go to both websites, whatnot. I put together what I camera chart that tells each cameraman what they're supposed to do. But I don't like putting all the players on there because I think some players are, they're not stories. I try to take the 5 or 6 players that are stories, including the keeper and the managers. And I put them on a chart with their faces and find out research statistics on them, blah, 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 blah. Then I take both teams at the bottom. I have a little page for like a column for notes. Like, for instance, this weekend, people might not know James Harden owns a piece of Houston Dynamo. Guess who owns a piece of Kansas City, though? Patrick Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes, yeah.
Maybe they're at the game. Maybe they're not. But I put that in the notes because the players might want to know that. The camera guys might want to know, hey, look, there's James Harden. Or a lot of guys will be like, hey, this guy looks like him. I go, you know what? It is him, knucklehead. Or Kevin Durant, or Giannis owns part of Nashville. Or just things like that. Owners, whatever. Things that at the game. Now, an LA game, I've got like 3 or 4 LA games coming up.
Yeah.
And, you got to be ready on your toes because you know what? The people, obviously, we've proven it with the Taylor Swift situation.
Right.
That the fans, there's viewers that like to see those people.
Yeah.
They want to see the star at the game. They want to see who's coming to see a soccer game. I mean, LeBron at a soccer game is important. LeBron owns part of Man U. When we see Mbappe come here to our country and he shows up at an NBA game, I'm like, hey, I know that guy. He's tiny. I mean, I always like to tell this story. I was doing an international friendly with Real and I don't know what. I think it was Bayern. We were like in HRG Stadium in Houston or something. And I was sitting down, but I was looking at my end zone camera, the positioning of it on the setup day. And I see this little guy coming over kind of toward the goal and shit. And they're having warm up and there's like 20,000 people in there. And he flicks a soccer ball up to me. And I catch it and he's, hey, mate. I'm like, hey. He comes over and introduces himself. I said, Lionel Messi. I said, yeah, I kind of know who you are. And right out of the corner, here comes Neymar beside him. And he's going to introduce himself. I'm the tallest guy in this discussion.
Yeah.
Between the two of them, there's about, $200 million of salary sitting in front of me.
Yeah.
And I can't, my Spanish, I can't speak that much, But I was lucky that my director, I was producing that game. My director, Mauricio, who works for us too, he's Colombian and he, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
He says, you realize who you just both met? And I said, yeah, I think I do. Yeah, I think I do.
That's great.
Anyways, the preparation work is to know everything that's going on. Then when I get to, I got to talk to the truck people to make sure the cameras are where I want them, what they're numbered the way I want them. We're going through that right now a little bit. European numbers of cameras a little differently. And I'm at the point I've done it so long, like motor reflex. I'll say, cut to 4. Oh, shoot, it's 3. You get in the heat of the battle, and sometimes it's, okay, that's not so good. But get all that ready, make sure my travel's right, make sure everything's what I want. Then I make all my copies. I laminate all my stuff for the camera guys so that they have something to keep it out of the weather. And also something that they'll use to keep. And I try to do full rosters for both teams too, in my sheet. And then I have a field drawing, which tells you which touch lines are, which the 6 is, the 18. You'd be surprised how many people don't. When I say, give me the 6, what's that? But if I say, give me the foul line in the NBA game, they know what that is. Well, give me the 6, give me the penalty spot, give me the 18, give me center line, give me the touch, give me the far touch.
Hopefully you'll have more experienced people this year.
No, I'm not saying they're not, but you're going to get them. There's too many events. And right now, a lot of people might take an NBA game or take an NFL game or take something before our game. You know what I mean? Or hockey players start. We got a lot of things mixing. So you got to be prepared for the guy that looks at you with a blank stare and says, I have no idea what I'm doing today.
Right.
So I give them that. I also give them a chart that says, do you know the numbers of soccer players? And they're like, yeah, it's on their uniform. No, I want you to know what a 9 is. What is a 10? What is a 7? What is a good? So if I say, if we're just talking the truck, hey, their 10 is really good. Or they got a 9 that they got to defend, or they got a 5 or a 6. It's not playing very well or something. You know what I mean? I want them to know that. And then I want them to know the movement. I have a movement chart that shows you where midfielders
generally move,
where fullbacks will generally go. And I think that helps them kind of get into it. I give them a little work. I always like to have my camera meeting before dinner too. Because if you have a dinner, you lose their concentration. Try to get them focused after dinner, not so good. I think you have a meeting, give them some material, let them go to dinner and let them look at the material. Then give them a little bit of time to get back to their positions. That's my prep work. I do take some things for granted, which I shouldn't. You never assume. I'm hoping in most cases I can get the feel of the room pretty quickly with my camera guys and with the crew.
Right.
And these guys, I travel mostly. Say it's another benefit of hiring producers and directors that have multiple reps under their belts each year, because we're used to being in the remote field. We can handle a problem or a situation that maybe a guy that only works 20 events a year can't handle. Right. And then, like you said, the technology part of it, if you're going to stay in this business, you have to keep up with it. That's why you read, you do videos, you watch stuff, you go to NAB each year if you can and see what the new equipment is. You can't be afraid to touch new equipment. They're at the point, I think our bosses are going to add a couple little Osmo cameras we want to capture more of the feeling outside the stadiums and stuff, which is great. I never really got hung up with a boss saying, okay, you got 6 cameras or you got 8 cameras, you got 10 cameras. I always approach any event. If you give me 6, I'm going to make it look like 12. If you give me 8, I'm going to make it look like 16. I'm going to morph those camera guys. They're not just going to shoot one shot the whole game. They're going to move. They're going to look. They're going to keep going. No, like I always tell in a basketball game, if I see your feet on a handheld or I see the court, I got a problem with you. Leave your legs up. Go. That's an old Fox theory, David Hill, all the time. That time when your lens isn't shooting something is when that guy's going to sprain an ankle or something's going to happen in front of you that we didn't see, or you know what I mean? It's just something. The lens tells the story. You're telling the story through what the lens sees.
And soccer is a little more difficult because it's always going. Whereas other places, they have stops. They have places where you can be like, oh, timeout, I go here.
You can't regroup with your guys. Once that game starts, like I said, soccer becomes more of a director's game. The director is pretty much controlling. In Europe, they call the director actually pushes the buttons for the camera cuts. And the vision mixer, the TD, vision mixer that we know as a TD here, he only does effects in replays. The director, bang, 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 because he can just take really quick. And you know what? That's why I actually went from the producer's chair to the director's chair a while ago, because I had a huge personal frustration with directors that didn't keep up. I'm like, let's go, move, build the drama, cut more shots, do this.
Right, you're telling a story. It's not just, hey,
like, come on, guys, let's go.
It's not a stationary webcam.
Yeah, well, get everything involved. And I go back to the guys that I learned from. I'm very fortunate. I go back to the darn beginning. Andy Sedaris and Chuck Howard were my first production crew at ABC, and Chuck was very demanding, which caused me a little bit of my career, just because Chuck just fired you on the spot. Chuck yelled at you, he demeaned you, whatever. But you know what? That's the way it was back then. And Andy would just ignore him, which is how I've learned to ignore a lot of producers. Sometimes they might be going off on a rant on their announcers or something. I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm cutting the game. I'm going to keep going because I got to. And then at Joe Assetti would come to me, one of the best directors probably of all time at ABC, CBS, gave me my first chance to direct CBS because it was his birthday and he wanted to take the night off. He hit me in the head. He goes, "You're perfectly capable of directing this. Keep going. I'll hit you in the head if you screw up." And I'm like, "Okay, Joe." But Joe gave me a flip card one time, college football game. That's how part of our prep gives me the flip card. And he says, "Tommy, do not start with a first or second team. You start with a third team." Okay. 82, Jim Smith. He knew everything. He memorized. He was an Ivy League guy. He was an all-American catcher. And great director. I mean, could direct everything. And was not afraid of anybody. Wasn't afraid of the moment. And he learned under Chet Forty. And and I grew up with Billy McCoy here in Pittsburgh, who was one of the real great freelance directors of our business has ever known. He retired about 3 years ago. Lonnie Dale and I used to work a lot together. Real sound director, still doing TNT games, and I won't get into ages, but he's older. and I just fortunate. I had a guy like Don Olmeyer Fell back into the cluster in the world, and man, he could make chicken salad out of that so fast. Give me this, give me that. Take one, cut two, go three. Blah blah blah. I mean, he's doing this is cars that are running at 225 miles an hour. Take one, everyone follow him. He's the leader. Blah, 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 and he would know. I mean, he was amazing. Or in golf, he just slow down, take two, ready three. Right. Yeah, I mean, he was a master at painting pictures to tell a story. And I just lucky. I got to work with guys like that. Then I got Billy Webb. And Billy Webb would fight David Hill about cut. David Hill told us a dissolve represents a change in time. A cut and seeing faces. At Fox, the mandate was, when we started there, you were never to come back from a commercial break with a wide shot and a score. You come back with people. People are watching that. Give me 5-6 shots of people in the stands. And I want to see them, not wide shots. This stuff where ESPN goes wide after a touchdown. I don't know who started that there, but boy, I'm one of the real, I hate it because you can't see anything.
You don't get the feeling of what's happening.
That shot can come 3 or 4 times from that. Why should that camera guy be going wide? Follow the guy that scored. Let's go see him. That's why those NFL, what we call Megalodon cameras now, go right up to the guys and walk around.
Yeah, they're running on the field. Yeah.
Did they have issues? Yeah, they have issues. They can't follow focus. They can't rack focus. They get soft on the sides. But they really bring you up into the guy, right, to what happened the minute he did it. And they're smaller. You hold them like this. They're like called gimbals. And they're just amazing to have as a tool.
Yeah.
And bringing motion to the thing. Skycam, Spider Cam, whatever you want to call it. Skycam originally, I knew the guys that invented it. That brought a different, aspect to the game. Soccer, I personally think we're having a lot of trouble using it in soccer.
Yeah.
Football, you can use it on every play. In soccer, the pay, it's like $40,000 a match. To justify that cost for maybe a shot down at the opening kick of both halves and maybe a couple angles of a goal. It's something. There's no commercial breaks. When you use a commercial break or something, why would you use it? I don't know. What use is it? What a Goodyear blimp now with the big lens they have and everything. They use that as part of game coverage in most places. Soccer, what can you do with it? Once you take that viewer, the further away you take that viewer from the field in soccer, the worse it gets. Can't see the game.
What would you, if you could write up, hey, we want this camera, where would you place it and what would it be if you could make that up?
Memo.
But
personally, I'd like to have diagonals on the low end zone cameras. So, and then I would like a reverse. So if you want to shoot the coaches, that's always nice to have. But without those, I would take a jib over those behind the goal. I think Philadelphia Union had one as one of their cameras before this all changed to Apple. And I think what we get out of it and what the director can do creatively to bring the fan down to the field. When you get that camera up high and then you bring it down low behind the keepers, he's ready to kick it down the field. Or I like to see, and I think the viewer does, what is the keeper looking at?
Yeah, I would love just a goal cam, just always looking out.
Yeah, what is he looking at downfield? Who's he kicking it to? Because you know what? We have a stat that is the percentage of kicks from keeper percentage that are that meets their target. Okay, so he sees Mukhtar taking off. He's going to kick that ball to him. Or Almada. People don't understand. They are actually moving the chess pieces. He's playing with the ball. Yes. Okay. Is he delaying? Who cares? As official, I just walk back to him quietly and say, come on, let's go. Let's go. 6 seconds is plenty. That's what we're supposed to call it at. 6 seconds, it's supposed to be a violation. Let's go. Play. I know what you're doing. What they're doing actually and waiting is they're moving the pieces. It's also a time when they can say, okay, man, my midfielder he's dogged. He's tired. Maybe I can give him 4 or 5 breaths going up the field. He can walk a little instead of running the whole way up there. Because soccer's a hard game, man. You got to be in great shape. Those guys have zero fat. But anyways, I'm saying I think that would be a great angle to see and add to it. It gives you. I just like the movement part of it. All the other cameras are stationary, and I also like I said, with those 2 diagonal end zone cameras. I like the fact I want to see their faces. Hey, they might, who knows if they're faking or not faking. They're always down on the ground, whatever. But when you see that, turf fly up in their face, you see their sweat, you're like, whoa, I love that. Go tighter.
Right. Yeah.
And also, here's another one. You got to teach a camera guy, soccer's a game from the waist down. It's not from the waist up.
Mm-hmm.
So, that foul is going to happen down on those legs. It's going to happen down. See, it's camera guy in the U.S., he's going to push tight all the time. Sometimes you don't want that. Because I always tell the camera guys, if the guy's got the ball on the top part of the screen, the far side of the field, I'll bet you the guy scores the goals on the bottom side of the screen. Guess what? I can't see him, but I need to see him. Because that guy at home watching it, he's watching the chess pieces move. Boop, boop, boop. Oh, look at that guy made a back run off a pick of a defender, and all of a sudden he's wide open on the cross. How did that happen? Well, we didn't see it because you were too tight. We need to see it. So, anyways.
And that may have been and then you end up just going to your big wide shot because that's the only thing you have is on camera one.
Correct. That's all you got. And that's just a bailout. Camera one, you always put it in just in case you got a problem. You know how this game's going. It's the same as we deal with in any other sport. The latency issues we have to get corrected because gambling. Simple as that. They want to be able to place bets. And we know that's the future. I don't know what they're doing in soccer. I have no idea what they're doing in soccer. NBA, I know that, they want to bet on everything there. Free throws, how many 3-pointers a guy's going to, it's just, but it's all leading that because that's where the next horizon of money is to pay the athletes.
Right.
We got to be able to keep finding revenue sources, like the Bally's thing. Okay. So we might lose some revenue, a pro team, whatever, but it's going to come back from somewhere else. It's just a shifting of the market right now and how you receive your stuff. I mean, you probably at home, you probably got, different kind of streaming services, whatever. I have Apple.
Right.
I'll be first to admit I'm guilty that, my kids know all my passwords. We share different things between, Apple, Paramount, whatever, Peacock, Max.
Right.
We have them all somehow, some way or the other. And that's why I get so mad at fans. They get on like Facebook and Instagram and all that. I can't get my soccer game. It's not for free. I want it for free. Guess what, folks? It's nothing free.
Right.
If you get it on a commercial TV station, do you have cable to get that? And I go, yes. I go, guess what? You paid to get it.
Right.
It's not free. Or I can't find it. Trust me, within 4 or 5 minutes, I can find every sporting event you want to find. And I can find a way to stream it, and get it in my house. It might be.
Yeah, it's just a different media, a way of getting it and accessing.
It's so, we're on to the third, that's the different part of transmission now. We transmit everything via, IP addresses and, internet, microwave. Goes like crazy. I told them we had games in Saudi. I didn't talk about soccer ones, but we had NBA games earlier in the season too. I said, take one of our SVU packages. Just take one on a plane and take it with you. All you do is plug it in the internet. The biggest part is, the hardest part right now is finding internet in the clear because you can't. So you plug in. We did this in the Big Ten. We first did some games with the cameras coming back, via the internet type thing on like Remy's, what they call them. And once all the fans turned their cell phones on in the stadium, you have 80,000 people in the stand trying to get the same bit of fiber you're using, the same, Wi-Fi. And you're like, this ain't going to work. All the cameras start going, bloop, bloop. You're like, we got to find a new way to do this, But that's led to almost every stadium has a 1 gigabyte line, whatever that
that's direct just for you.
That goes nowhere else. Just goes to you.
So when you're at a stadium, you're basically in the truck most of the time. And,
one thing I always do. Some of my producers don't like it. I leave the truck. A, because I got to go to the bathroom usually, but B, I like to walk into the stadium close to game time as I can. That schedule allow, and see what's going on in there. I can't see it all in the truck. I can't hear it all in the truck.
Right.
But if I go in there and say, "Oh, look at the supporter section on the left. Boy, they're getting pretty crazy. Okay, that's good. Okay, good. Oh, look over there. That's where they do this, and that's where they do that. Can't see it in an empty stadium when I'm setting up. But once the people get in there, you go, oh, okay, where's a good shot to cut to? Where's something I'm not seeing? A lot of times it's saved my butt a few times saying, wait a minute, I know where that is. Go shoot that guy, or shoot this,
Right.
or I see
It's in
somebody
305 or something. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got a sign that's like really cool. Or I got, so you go in there, and it doesn't have to be, an hour. I go in for 5 minutes. Walk in, take a look around, feel the atmosphere, then back to the truck. And I might say, I might have a note or two for the camera guys. Hey guys, section 103, I wrote it down here. Hey, there's a guy there, he's a really big fan, I think. He's been beating that drum for an hour and a half, and it's not stopped. We got to show him tonight.
Right.
It's worth it. He's earned it. We've got somebody that's all dressed up. I get this one guy, you'd love it. He lives in Munich, Germany. Calls himself the ultimate, Bayern Munich fan. Anytime I would do a friendly with them or even get close to them, right away I get an email. And then I get, I'll be here, I'll be there, I'll be this, I'll be that. And he tells me everything. And he found me somehow, I think, through LinkedIn or something. And, I kind of befriend almost everybody, I guess. And he's funny as heck. He'll send stories about how the team is this and that and the other. I mean, he's a super fan, man. He's like that guy you see in Ohio State games. Always has the cowboy hat on, and he has the big Cadillac and, Buckeye Ben or whatever his name is, Yeah. But those guys you want to see.
Yeah, definitely. And then as far as when game ends, you're finished, but how much work are you really doing after?
Game ends. You got, well, obviously, I look at the producer, and I think I'm a little bit responsible. Have we fulfilled all of our advertiser obligations or any other obligation? If we had our list, is it all crossed off? Because once we go off the air, you can't get it back. And B, I make sure, and it's really one of my real bugaboos with my camera guys. I always say, when in doubt, shoot a star, because you can always tell a story about a star. But having the cameraman know who the winners and losers are, that's my next biggest thing. Remember, there's always a winner, always a loser. There's a guy that scores a touchdown, but there's a guy that let him score a touchdown. There is a player who scored a goal or a player who let him score a goal. It doesn't always have to be the keeper either, guys. Forget it. The keeper one-on-one with the best players in the world, he ain't stopping that ball. There's no way in God's green earth he's doing that. But somebody up ahead of him screwed up. So let's make sure we show our winners and losers. Let's see the emotion that, and I like Taichuk, get out on the field. I don't want to see you just sitting there aiming and pointing the camera. If you're a handheld guy, get out in the middle of them. I want to see what's going on. And you know what is even is one of the nicest shots you can get these days too, if it's permitted, because that's another thing I like to do, especially when you're with a team more than often. Ask the player, can I shoot your children?
Right.
Okay. He might say no. In fact, in a lot of cases, they will say no. The Gasol brothers, I asked both of them, no, absolutely not. They're not part. Kidnapping, all kind of different stuff can happen.
Right.
They don't want them identified. But on the other hand, some players, sure, show my kid, whatever, I don't care. But some of the best shots you can get, that little kid running on the field to see daddy just played a tough game, and he hugs. Let's get that shot. Let's not miss it. And if I got it on tape, let's play it back as if live or whatever. Let's show the viewers, wrap them up, give them something to stay with us for a few minutes. Not necessarily, and that leads me to my next part. I think as a director, I think I do a real good job with my talent, with my interviewers, my sideline reporters. I don't let them. My job. I just read Don Michener's book, one of the great directors of entertainment, open ceremonies and stuff. I've shared a truck with him. He's a great guy. He's getting in his 80s now, but he's won every award there is. And said your number one job as a director is to make your talent look good, because that's a reflection of you. If you put him on camera and his headpiece is not in the right side, his mouthpiece is in his mouth, you never do that. You put mouthpiece always goes to the inside. Not change your headsets. I don't care. Change them. You can rough through it for 30 seconds, but make sure the lapel pin's right. The hanky looks good. Hank Stram always told us in football, Hank always bought 2 ties. You know why he bought 2 ties?
No.
Make sure his hanky always matched. He'd cut the other tie in half and put it in his pocket.
Oh, nice.
He'd buy the same tie, same look, purple, cut the one in half in there. That way he looked perfect. And you know what? He was right. He never had a hair out of place either. Don Cricky, same way. I mean, I got a lot of guys. I can tell you different stories about them, but it's to make them look good. So when the announcer gets down on the field, does anybody at home want to hear what the announcer has to say or see the announcer? They want to hear the player.
Mm-hmm.
We start on that 2-shot and we go into the player. I don't want to see the announcer after that again.
Yeah.
And we try to get as profile as we can to the player. So he's looking into the camera, talking to you. He's talking to you at home. And the question, like I always tell the announcers, please, if you ever ask the question, what is going through your mind? I'm going to kill you. I'm going to just take you off the air. Ask a better question, or ask it in a way that is the same question, but you're going to get personal. It's going to say, I'm actually looking at that good-looking lady over there in the first row, or I was thinking about nothing. I was thinking about how much money I just made.
Right. I was thinking about the song that I was listening to.
Yeah, and after a while they'll fight with me, and pretty soon they'll say, you know what, you're actually right. It's stupid. It's not a good question. And also, the less words in your question, the better. And I'm going to teach you another trick. If you say an amazing game and put the mic in front of his mouth, guess what? He's going to talk. It's obligation. It's a response of your body.
Right.
You don't have to add all the other crap to it. You don't have to add, you had 13 goals and you had 48 assists and this coming into the game. And today you didn't score at all. So what do you feel? Like,
right.
Hey, not a great game, was it, honey? 3-4 question answers or questions is what you want. We're not here to hear you.
Yeah.
I want to hear the player. Everybody at home's not sitting there going, oh my, I wonder what Jillian's going to say after the game.
Right.
Who cares?
Right. As long as she leads them to something that's going to say something compelling.
All you are is the guide track to get them to talk about what what your producer maybe, or what somebody, or hopefully the sideline reporter already, most of the sideline reporters too, I ask them, please give me 4 or 5 things on a note card for the game that you're going to try to cover during the game. That way I know how to back you up, make you look really good again.
And I'm guessing you do the same with the talent up calling the game and the commentators. They have certain things that they tell you, like, hey, I'm focusing on this.
Yep. Football, basketball, soccer, do it all the same. Try to say, hey, give me 3 or 4 things you're talking about, or what we're going to look at today. I mean, like with Danny Higginbotham, you sit down and you go, okay, Danny, what are we doing? He say, hey, well, like he'll say, the left back, man, he sneaks, he gets caught a lot. Da, 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 da. I'll look for it during the game. Or like Jim Curtin was saying, we're going to run a diamond. I don't want you all to know that until we play the game, but they haven't seen it before. And, so I'm looking for it right away, because I actually used to teach my kids a diamond in high school. They were like, how does that work? I'm like, I was teaching them how. I said, if we can outsmart them, we can outplay them. We might not be the best athletes. We might be the best team, but we can maybe beat them. Yeah. You keep me, 0-0, 1-1 type thing in soccer, I have a chance of beating you. By mistake. One mistake and you lose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's hard to get those back.
Yep, but those guys will tell you a lot of stuff of what they're looking for. Like Taylor was telling me, we were in Nashville. I remember this. Watch the crossover pass from left or right from the back, the far back. And sure enough, like 3 or 4 minutes into the game, and I go to the producer. He goes, "Take this angle." I go, "That's a crappy angle." And then all of a sudden, as soon as I got in the replay, I go, "Holy shit, it's a really good angle." Look at that. Look how he saw that field open up ahead of him. How that player just shook off, trusting his back on the left side that he was going to get it all the way to the right. And these guys, in high school, if I had 4 or 5 kids that kicked the ball, 60, 70 yards, I was lucky. I was fortunate. My son kicked 60-yard field goals and, played at Penn State, but he could kick the ball length of the field. But these guys in the pros, they can just flick it and it goes that far.
Oh, yeah.
They can move it, and they can put it right on your head or right on your chest, and they drop it right to their foot and keep on going. And you're like, dang, that's pretty cool.
That is.
I saw one day, and just off the subject, but I got invited to go to Barcelona's practice, and we were in Michigan Stadium, actually. They cut the field. They made like a practice field of like 20 yards by 20 yards square. They put 22 players in there and played keep away. Oh, I never saw a soccer ball move that fast in my life. I'm like, oh my God, look at this. And defense couldn't get it off them. I said, man, the skill level, the people don't realize the skill level of these athletes. And that's bottom line, my job. Show that. show the fan at home so that he'll maybe come and buy a ticket next week, or maybe he'll keep watching and buy a subscription. Whatever. Hey, subscriptions. I think it's personally the best ticket in the house. Why? Because I'm sitting in front of my house with any food I want to eat, and I can see multiple replays. Now, if you go
any language, and in different languages too.
Oh yeah, you can just go SAP, boop boop boop. There's the other language. It's right there. And what I think, they said in our meeting a couple weeks ago, one of the biggest things Apple did right away is the fans said, we wanted the, streaming, you got to go in and out of streams. We want a multi-viewer. Within 30 days, we had a multi-viewer. And everybody could watch. Just go boop, 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 just like your wife. Everybody wants it like their TV control. And you go, that game, this game, that game, this game. And the true fans do watch a lot of games. And that's the cool guys you want. Like I said, the next thing is, how I guess I can call it the Taylor Swift moment. How do we get the outside fan to come on in? Come on in and join us on a Saturday night at 7:30. And we're going to take you right till 12:31 in the morning. It's going to be a wonderful night, family watching. You got kids that like soccer. You got parents, you can watch multiple games. You can go to the Whip Around Show, 360, see all that. You got, great. And we have a great set. You realize when you had this many games and you have this many teams, all the announcers that they weren't all there. We had to develop them. Right. We had to find them. And some were good. Some maybe weren't so good. Some were going to get better. Some are going to be the good ones are going to get even better because now there's some competition.
Yeah. They learned. People got cut.
Well, people got cut. Yeah, a few did, I think. It's funny getting phone calls sometimes. But
so when we met in New York, you were working on the Red Bulls Charlotte match, and Eric Krakauer and Lloyd Sam were the crew. Can you talk about that, since they're kind of our home crew here at Charlotte FC?
Oh, I think they're unique, and that's what I like about it. And Eric's knowledge of soccer and also Sam's of playing it is probably as good as anybody we got. I mean, Eric. See, I knew Eric before. Eric filled in for Kevin. Eric worked with Kevin down in Florida.
That's right. Yeah,
those guys were doing 2-3 games a day off tube. And the fact that he speaks Portuguese and is a real fan, that side of it, he's valuable, man. Plus, he's exciting. He loves the game. There's that real. It's one thing I've noticed with the announcers. And somebody said to me, "Why don't you speak up more?" And I said, "I don't know. I'm just doing the game." We remember the experiment of Gus Johnson, good friend of mine, like Gus, worked his first games he ever worked at CBS. But the sport doesn't play to Gus Johnson. Gus can't tell when a goal is going to be scored, nor can our announcers. Right. But our announcers who know how to build and get it right, when that opportunity comes, I said to one of our announcers last year, "Hey, stop it. You're not Gus Johnson." He knew right away what I meant because he was trying to make every play a big play. I'm like, "Oh, back it off a little bit, man. Call the game, call the excitement. But when that moment comes, be ready. Don't fall asleep. Be ready." And then, hey, every broadcasting school around the country is going to cut off the Jim Nantz, Tony Romo last touchdown and say what not to do. I mean, it ruined the call of the game, call of the Super Bowl. 123 million people watching. He ruined it. He's still blabbering. The ball's in the guy's hand. And Jim's ready. Touchdown. What do you call it? Jackpot or whatever. I mean, he had to, and Jim had that all prepared, and he didn't get to do. It got ruined, kind of.
Yeah.
It's. I think Eric is that kind of guy. Eric knows when those moments are coming. He reads the game well. And like I said, with Sam knowing, playing the game and understanding the technical part of it and stuff, getting that out, that's another goal of the announcer too, is how to bring out that analyst. And I think that what's really good and what I think the upper folks like a lot about Kevin Egan and some of the other guys, they get that guy in there. Jake's a good example. Jake knows the sport really well. And with Taylor, and especially with the messy moments, I mean, Jesus, they were laid on a platter to him.
Yeah.
And you know what? They didn't fail at it. They were awesome at it. Jake had his call. Taylor didn't talk over him.
Mm-hmm.
Taylor waited till the replays came. And then he became a magician, a master at what he does.
Right. And really
Jake
just
knew,
laying it down for us.
When to be quiet because the place erupted. I mean, I screamed at home. Oh my God. He just did.
Yeah.
And Jake knew, lay it off. Okay, wait. Because there's plenty of time after that. You know how, like I was saying, that we made a mistake the other night, was on the air for 3 seconds. The TV's famous for that. There's so much time, yet we think there's no time. Just let it breathe. Let the whole moment happen. And those guys, everybody learns that as they go. Hey, soccer is new to this country at this level on an announcing level.
Yeah.
So these guys are pioneers. Some of these guys never did it before. And Kobe Jones said to me on a call last year, he said, Tom, we get these assignments. And they say, okay, you're an analyst. Not one single person has taught us how to be an analyst. I was a player. I don't know how to be an analyst. It's funny that like in football, some of our best analysts is weird. Is like offensive linemen. You're like, why is he good at this? Because he has to break that game down and know what's going on. Quarterbacks are always they see the whole game. They over technique. When it comes down to it, it's like, who's going to beat up each other? Soccer game. When it comes down to it, whose tactic's going to win? Mostly in soccer, there's going to be 1 or 2 players going to break your back. And if you defend them, you got to defend them for 90 minutes or 90 plus minutes. If you screw up for a minute or so, you're done. There's a goal.
Right.
Oh, I'm a little bit tired, or my recovery run back to my, to where he's at, I'm just not there, or I lost track of him.
That could be it. It's not like any other sport. You can really just get it back.
Well, the Acostas and the Mukhtars and people like that. One time they're on the left, all of a sudden, how did he get over there? What is he doing? The guys that, coaches let him roam. Some coaches are very functional, stress, you got to be in your space, got to be in your place. But then there's some that let them roam. And as long as they have a player that will recover for them. I always wonder, like when Tata Martino first was in Atlanta, and I was watching, he had the fullbacks would come up, I thought, so dangerously far
Very
away.
high. Yeah.
And then he let a guy like Almiron just take off anywhere he wanted to in the middle of the field because he was faster than every player out there. And I was like, this has got to be. But what happened is the defenders got better and knew how to cover for those guys. So if the guy's going on a run, another guy filled that slot. So if a counter,
it's balance and shape.
Yeah, if the counter came, it's all about keeping the shape. That's why a lot of guys, what does the keeper do? Keeper is responsible keeping that shape. Same as a good holding. Probably our best midfielder in this country is Darlington Nagbe. He keeps the shape of that team, and he keeps them where they've got to be. He is the quarterback. And without him, you don't have a championship there. And a championship in Atlanta, and a championship before that. I mean, he is a great player and a great human being. I mean, just wonderful player for this league. You don't understand how good he is. And the minute Atlanta, when he was permitted to, make a move to go to Columbus again, Atlanta hurt. There was nobody there to take that position. We tried. How many guys have we tried in that middle? The Morenos, all the different ones down. That position is, and I still think the U.S. team to this day is probably looking for that player. I don't know if we have that player yet or not. We got players that can go up and score and stuff and run, do all that stuff. I don't know if we have those real good center guys yet, center mids, strong holding guys that hold balls, gain possession, get the ball.
Basically a director.
Yeah, a director. We try to get him in the right place, Nick.
Yeah. So Tom, you just going through this. So you worked for the Grizzlies, Memphis Grizzlies with Bally Sports, Atlanta United. You had Olympic coverage. You did Major League Baseball. You did Pittsburgh Pirates, TNT, Raycom, ABC, all of these things. What haven't you done that you want to do?
World Cup. Don't think that'll happen just because of the nature of the sport. It'll be a team from Europe or something. I'd love to do a World Cup. I mean, if I had everything right, I did my 4,500th event 2 weeks ago.
Oh, congrats.
I don't think anybody has ever done that. And I also like to claim the fact that I've worked for every network in this country and never was staff at any network. So that tells me that maybe they want me to use me. So I kind of take that as a pat on the back. I mean, if everything went right, I'd love to phase over to soccer, full time.
Right.
And get get a World Cup under my belt, and then finish the whole damn thing off in 28 with the Olympics in Los Angeles.
That would be nice.
At that point, I'll be gone to an island. I'm not going to be one of those guys that hangs around and does things where he's not like where the crew afterwards goes, boy, he's getting older. Boy, he didn't, he's getting lazy.
Right.
Or he's getting this. I don't want to be lazy. I want to have more energy. The truck is my locker room.
Yeah.
In my locker room, and it's not just mine, it's mine in the producer's locker room. Our team, we have our meetings. Our team's going to go out and perform. And I want them to say, hey, that's a pretty good team. They'll get us a really good show on the air. And I want the team to understand my excitement for that game.
When you said the Olympics, it just maybe, are you someone that's like, I want to direct like the opening ceremonies? Is like that like a pinnacle type thing? Or would it be just something else?
I've actually directed the opening ceremonies of the Pan American Games, and I've directed the closing ceremonies, opening ceremonies of the Paralympic Games I've directed, and the closing. And that's as emotional as you'll ever get. I still think in Atlanta when we did it, the guy that lit the torch, I mean, Muhammad Ali's Muhammad Ali, and we had a feeling of what was going to happen there because I was doing track and field there. I was producing track and field, and which is unheard of from an American group because they don't think we can do athletics, and they thought it's the best coverage they've ever had. But our guy took a rope down from the cauldron, and his legs, he was paralyzed below the waist. He took that torch we put it in a leather container. They stuck it in the side of his leg. Yeah. He did the whole way up to the torch, lit it. If you weren't bawling at the end of that, you got no emotion. But no, I got to direct parts of the marathon, a couple Olympics. At the Olympics, I mean, track and field was so exciting. It's amazing. But the Olympics itself, almost any sport at any time is just fun to be at, opening, closing ceremonies. I'm fortunate. My brother's one of the best camera guys in this business. So he's got 8 or 9 Emmys too. And my other brother, Johnny, was voted last year the world's #1 sports fashion photographer in the world. And he is the official photographer for the IOC. So this will be his 17th and 18th Olympics coming up. And he takes the pictures you see everywhere around the world. He just come back from Antarctica on a trip he did. He had never been there. And I said, well, at least now you can say you've been to Iran. And he laughed. He said, I said, there are people there? He goes, no, just explorers and stuff. But I'm lucky they're around me. And my youngest brother is an attorney, was an attorney, just retired from General Electric. He was the guy that was signing the contracts for the switchers and the equipment and stuff like that for NBC for the Olympics. He was the guy who was going over them, and he was calling me and saying, hey, what about this? What about that? And, my son I always told my son, I want you to get in the business, but he said, well, what if I'm your boss? I said, well, he's senior deputy legal counsel for Byron Allen. So he's involved in all kind of different stuff, from the Weather Channel to, TV stations to all the other. They have a piece of Bally's too, I believe. Media group. So he's in a good position. He does a very good job, and he's like me. I told him, you got to stay up on the business, and he's carved out a notch in the digital and streaming ends as an attorney. That's probably nobody has his experience, and he's still 42 years old. He knows what he's doing. He was a vice president for 5 years at Univision too. So he's multilingual, and he knows this business. He knows soccer. He's traveled the world. I mean, climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. I haven't done that. He did it, but he's done a bunch of different other things. The whole family, we've got a travel bug in us.
Sounds like you laid some good groundwork for him, and just
and
what you do.
My daughters are equally good. I knock on wood, man. I'm a really lucky fellow, because traveling as much as I do. It'll be 47 years this year with my wife, and she understands this business. It's hard sometimes, really hard. She's raising 3 kids, and getting everybody where they got to go. I'm coming home on red eyes, trying to get to a soccer game or to a dance recital or to this and that. And, for her to be as understanding and my two daughters to be as understanding too, like my wife always said, you got the perfect son because he does everything you like. He played 4 sports, the high levels, played in college, and then my girls are I'm just as proud as them. I mean, my daughter teaches, well, she's second grade this year now, but she had taught third grade for many, many years. And she asked me about when she first got a job. She said, "Hey, Dad, I've got 2 offers." I said, "Oh, you do?" I said, one was in Joppatown Elementary, which is right by Baltimore County, and and one was in Forest Hills, Maryland, which is a very, very wealthy area, up and coming. She said, I said, "What do you think I should take?" I said, "It's up to you." She says, "Well, where do you think you can do the most good?" She said, "Joppatown. Those kids need me. Some of them can't read. Some of their parents can't read right." She went there for 11 years. And she just moved up to Bel Air now because my grandson and granddaughter are there. And my youngest one, that's where my wife is right now. She babysits 5 days a week. So that kind of keeps her busy for at least until 2-3 o'clock every day. And instead of finding me somewhere on the road and going, "What are you doing?" Right? "Hey, my car's not working right. It's going on tomorrow." And I said, "Yeah, we're going to get it fixed. And I'm leaving Friday. You're taking me to the airport." She said, "Oh, give me my wife always says, give me my schedule." I'm like, "You're taking the airport on Friday. You're doing it," because I leave a car in Memphis. So I get
makes sense. Yeah.
My daughter, she works at Carnegie Mellon. She runs their executive management.
Cool.
That's where my son did the same thing at Harvard, the sports management group, and that's where he met PK and some of the other guys. CJ McCollum was in his class, and they all came. These young, how would you say, up and coming, smart young guys that have money, have ideas, and they keep in touch with each other, and that's where PK was married to Shakira then, and that was Matthews. He always wanted to meet her, so he went out to dinner with her. But no, he's got a love of soccer. My son was a very good player, and probably could have stayed in this, into that end of it if he wanted to. But it's nice to when your son can say, "Hey, Dad, what game you doing this weekend?" Or what? Hey, I'll meet you here. I'm going to see that game, or or hey, whatever, or I'll call him.
Right.
He was on top of the messy stuff. He was telling me stuff was happening before it happened, and I'm like, "Man, how do you know?"
Cool. Yeah, it's just something you can share with. That's it. In our last minute, we do a little segment called Stoppage Time.
It's stoppage time.
All right. Do you have a must-do personal ritual?
Personal ritual.
Or a habit that you do like every day? Like, I got to do this. This is what I do. Or maybe even when you're going to a game or something and setting up, you do certain things.
Nah, to be honest with you, I'm a pretty good Catholic, and I like to make sure I say my prayers every day and be thankful for what I have. I've been very fortunate to have what I have, and I pretty much check in with all 4 parts of the family, 3 kids and a wife, and make sure I do that. But I'm thankful for what I have, and I know that. And I'm very fortunate, and I got good health to this day. I like to work out every day, and keep that part going too.
All right. Do you have a favorite unplugged activity?
I like to go to the beach, just hang out, ride some waves. I can't do that anymore. My daughter's officially told me no more surfing, no more body surfing. I got whacked about 2 summers ago in Charleston. I got a wave the wrong way in a surf that I shouldn't have been in probably. And I never got turned over and landed on my head. And I got come up out of the water, and literally I was bleeding everywhere.
Yeah.
My daughter said, "That's it, Dad, you're done." I said,
I've done the same thing.
Yeah, that was a little scary. And my son had we had a paddleboard with us, and his is heavy. And I couldn't flip that sucker back up, and I'm like, "Oh man, it's going to hit me in the head." And I'm like, "You know what? This is stupid. Just enjoy the water with your grandchildren now, and walk out. You can play a little bit, but don't be stupid." I like the beach is calming.
Yeah. Definitely. All right. What about a go-to snack while just like leisurely watching soccer match?
No, I don't like to eat anything watching soccer match because I'm concentrating on the game. I'll get out of my chair, actually staying closer to the set so I can see more of what's going on.
What about when you're not working? Like, do you just Is it hard for you to enjoy a game? Yeah.
Well, my grandfather always said if God had created anything better than ice cream, he would have kept it for himself. So and I do enjoy a little ice cream and a good ice cream cone. We got a place here that's very, very good. It makes homemade custard ice cream. That's probably, that's a good one right there.
All right.
I like to eat. I like to eat everything and anything and try new stuff.
Yeah. What design impresses you more, interior or exterior?
Design. More, I like interior.
Okay.
Just, I like the way a house is laid out. I like the way, you know what I mean? That kind of thing.
Would you say the same thing if you weren't thinking about like a actual structure, but just design itself?
Yeah, I'm not an abstract person. So I think I'm black and white. I think a lot, so I don't, I like to know what it is. I'm, doubting Thomas, you know what I mean? I like to see the structure. I like the firm structure. I look at an abstract painting. I got one friend, a camera guy, makes these wonderful oil canvas paintings. He works on Sunday Night Football and amazingly talented, Pete Stendhal. And I look at his stuff and I'm like, would I put that on my wall? Nah. I'd rather have a picture, I have pictures.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you find starting a project or finishing one more gratifying?
I got to finish it. I'm focused. Like I'm doing my income tax right now. You're taking out of my time here in a few minutes. I got to go find. Right. I still got to do my office expenses and my medical stuff, which I have organized. Plotted in. I got to plot it into the holes. But no. Finish. It's got to be organized. Anybody that's not organized, I have no time for.
All right. What recharges you? The beach?
Absolutely. Or playing golf with my buddies, or just spending a nice dinner and a glass of wine with my wife is, because I don't see her that much. We always had the rule: if you don't travel every 5 days, we're probably gonna get divorced. So we're still 47 years later, and I dated her for 6 years, for Pete's sake. So I didn't know how I couldn't finish up the deal.
Yeah. All right. Last question. What position would you like to play if you were out on today's pitch in MLS?
Oh, without a doubt, I'd like to have. I think I used to have the leg for it. Center mid would be. I want to run that team. I want to distribute the ball to where it's got to go. I played some up front in college, and I liked it because we didn't have as many structured things where I would literally go right to goal and wouldn't let anybody. I'd like to take somebody on one-on-one and just keep going. Put it in the net. My final goal is in the net, period. Yeah. But no, I center mid, I love, like I said, I think Darlington Nagbe is one of the best players in the league. And I think that he just exudes professionalism, family, knowledge of the game, tactic in his head. I mean, I just, and I don't take away from a lot of other players. I mean, there's other obviously very good players.
But you got to know him. So
the guy in the middle is the guy.
Yeah.
He that ball got to funnel through him somehow, and that's just Bradley was another one, like it went through him. You mean whether you liked him or didn't like him, it still got through him. And you also could turn and go, what the heck did you just, I told you to go that way, or, you went the wrong way, or, you know what I mean? That's the quarterback of the club. And I do like to say, and I'll be the first to say it. If I screw up, there's another rule in my truck. If you make a mistake, admit to it and move on. Do not sit there and try to start a discussion, because it's not going to be good for you. I'm going to get rid of you, or I'm going to get rid of myself. But you made a mistake. The worst thing you can do when you make a mistake is make the second mistake by trying to correct the first one. So don't make the second mistake. Don't sit there and try to argue with me. You're not going to win. Not in the middle of the heat of the battle. You are not going to win. You can talk to me afterwards. Hey, Tom, can I talk to you afterwards about this?
Right.
We're not going to have that discussion in front of 30 people either. We're going to go aside and you're going to tell me, oh, I didn't like how you rode me on a camera today. And I'm going to look right to you. I'll tell you, I'm going to tell you, when I leave that truck, my locker room, my field, I don't remember anything that happened. Okay. That's one thing I might tell you. Second thing I tell you, I'll be brave enough, and I've been around it long enough to say, you suck tonight. You missed the biggest play of the game. I had to do that to my camera one, my most reliable camera in basketball 3 weeks ago. He screwed up. And I told him, you're not just feeding us. You're feeding 3 or 4 other feeds too. You can't do what you did. And he's like, okay, I understand it. You know what? You gotta be upfront with the guys, man. You tell them, okay, you screwed up. Or hey, be the first also. What a great job you did tonight. I'll leave you with that, Nick. Pat him on the back, tell him you did a great job. You know, and I think that's as good as anything, because I know how I feel when somebody pats me on the back and says, you did a good job. I come home, I'm high for the next, hour. I can't sleep after games. The adrenaline is still pumping. And as long as adrenaline is still pumping, this old fart's going to still be pumping. I'm going after it. I mean, Saturday, we're into it Saturday, man. We got a match. And I think it's a good matchup, and I'm ready to go. And hey, Apple gives us every tool. MLS gives us every tool to make these shows good. You can sit and bitch and moan all you want about the little things of shows and stuff, which we all do. But, bottom line is, what else? I haven't worked a day in my life. Mm-hmm. It's fun, man. I'm going to do an NBA game Friday night with, I don't even know who we're playing. Oh, playing the Clippers. Oh, James Harden might happen to be there. Now I say, hey, James, I'm going down to Houston tomorrow morning. Oh, cool, man. I own that team,
Right, exactly.
And then I'm going to do that game. I'm going to fly back Sunday and decompress. I'll do my report, my post-game report, which we have to do. We have all this mechanical ways to do invoices now. And I'll do that, my expenses. And then Monday, the Brooklyn Nets are in. With I'll cook my own dinner Saturday night and get caught up on my Blue Blood episodes, which I love. And, I'm too behind. I mean, I think it's one of the best shows on TV. That and Yellowstone.
Hey, a lot of people like that one too. Well, Tom, thanks so much for coming on.
Absolutely.
I appreciate this.
No problem, man. Hey, good luck with the season.
I hope you enjoyed listening to my conversation with Tom and maybe learned a little bit about MLS Season Pass matches from the eye of a director and the fascinating person that is Tom Huet. Please share our podcast and this conversation with those people you think would enjoy it. Thanks for listening to the Charlotte FC podcast. I'm Nick Finelli, your host. Please follow us on X and Instagram at CLTFC Podcast. We're also at CLTFCpodcast.com or CharlotteFCpodcast.com if you want to go to our website, and we'll be posting more stuff on YouTube. So if you want to get playlists there too.